Hello and welcome to Our Spirited Life, with spirit meaning our vital animating essence and life being our very existence. We're here to engage and inspire you with enlightening, humorous, and I know that will be with Val, and sometimes irreverent conversation around real life issues. Our experiences may have gifted us a few wrinkles, but we've also gained wisdom, strength, humility, the ability to laugh, and the desire to make a big difference to those who still struggle with life's challenges. My guests share how they've created a truly successful and spirited life and their journey to reaching this. Listen to the very end for some top tips and a fabulous music choice. Welcome to this week's issue. I am delighted to introduce a dear friend, Lady Val Corbett, who's a devoted advocate for prison reform and the rehabilitation and reintegration of returning citizens into society. The essence, ethos, and heartbeat of Lady Val's professional network is betterment, that building the life and career you dreamed of for yourself is a human right, that everyone deserves to live their best life. Amazing, Val. This is the mission of all of Lady Val's endeavours, and we're going to learn about these now. Val, welcome to Our Spirited Life. We're speaking online. I'm in Cheltenham. So first of all, please tell us, where in the world are you?
Well, I live in a 400-year-old cottage in Hertfordshire.
Okay.
It was my husband. I'll just tell you how he got it. He was canvassing, of course, as always, and he knocked on the door, and the couple said, "Oh, yes, do come in. We are going to vote for you, but we've just decided to sell." So he looked around. He said, "Can I just look around?" He looked around. He said, "Well, I think I'll buy it." And they both said, "You don't have to buy it. We are going to vote for you."
That is just wonderful. About destiny.
I knew.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing, Val. And you're still there, you can see how old it is from the bricks behind you. So, a little bit about your early life. You were born in South Africa. When and why did you come to England?
When I was 12, somebody said to me, "You're always asking questions. You should be a journalist." And I said, "You mean you can get money for asking questions?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "I want to be a journalist." So ever since 12, I decided that that was, and I read up, and I used to go to the dentist, and they had these copies of the Daily Mirror. And I was looking through, I said, "This is what I want to do." So I had to do 3 jobs to get the money to come to London, which I
Mhm.
eventually did, because my dream, of course, was to get to Fleet Street, which was then the mecca of journalism.
Mhm.
It was actually quite a difficult journey, because when I landed, having been a journalist in Cape Town, um, I had a letter of introduction from the managing director saying how wonderful I was, etc.
Mhm.
Lies, but anyway. Um, and uh, and then I couldn't get a job because I wasn't a member of the National Union of Journalists.
Ah.
After then, I had no idea about the NUJ.
Mm.
And it was a terrible thing, because you couldn't get a job if you didn't have an NUJ card, and you couldn't get a card until you had a job. So anyway, I landed in a bedsit, eating hard-boiled eggs for a long time. It was years before I could face another hard-boiled egg. I came home to my family saying how wonderful everything
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Ah.
I was very, very naive.
How old were you at that time?
I was about 19 or 20, something like
Yeah. Very brave to come to
that.
London.
No one living soul in this country, not a second cousin or third cousin twice removed, nothing.
Mm.
And I was told, "Oh, you don't want to go to England. The people there are cold, they're reserved, they don't make friends." All of
Mm.
that, complete lies. I never found it. I found everybody very nice, not reserved, and I made lots of friends. So,
Brilliant. Well, I know why. So you then study journalism here?
no, no, no. What I did was, I was a trainee. Well, first of all, I went to this publishing company, and they
Mm.
didn't have any jobs except as a filing clerk. And I was so bad. I mean, I now know that if when I die, my daughter is going to want to kill me, because my filing is disgusting. I cannot.
Oh.
Anyway, I was about to be about to be sacked as a filing clerk. When one of the editors said, "Look, she doesn't want to be a filing clerk. She wants to learn journalism. Let me train her."
Brilliant. Oh,
That was
darn.
the cure. To leave South Africa because he was a proponent of anti-apartheid. And one night he was leaning down to kiss his child goodnight in the crib, and a bullet went right over his head. If he had stood up, he would have been killed.
Oh,
So
God.
they had to leave. And I'll tell you a funny story after that because Robin and I went and saw him because they settled in Windsor. And when I introduced Robin, Peter said, "I know your name, I know you." And Robin said, "I don't think so." So he went and got a petition, which the NUJ had organized, and Robin's name was number 2 on the list. So
Oh,
it's an amazing amalgam of my first editor, with my
yeah.
husband, that connection. I thought it was,
Yes.
was
I
fate.
just think that's fate. It's the universe. It's whatever. It's
It is.
bringing,
It is.
and also how thankful are we all because with what you now do many years
Yeah.
later, because you really do give back. How did you meet your late husband, Robin Corbett, Lord of Castle Vale?
Well, I bought a dress for new. I got a job as a features editor of a furnishing magazine,
Hmm.
and I knew nothing about furnishing. That's another problem I've had all my life. I've been writing about things I know nothing about. Anyway, so I had this dress which looked lovely in the shop, but when I tried it on at home for my first day, I thought to myself, why did I not see that this color was a kind of vomit green? Why why did I choose it? But it was too late to change, so I went in. And at lunchtime, there was the woman who's inducting me. We went through a door to the canteen or something. And I said to her, "Does this dress make me look dumpy?" And a voice said, "Yes, it does."
A voice.
A voice. And I looked up the 6'3" man, and I thought, how rude. And that was my introduction to Robin Corbett.
So what did you say? Did you say anything when you turned around and looked up at him?
I gave him my stare, um, and he called me dumpy for ages after that.
Oh,
I
but was
know.
there love at first sight? Was there that
It wasn't on
absolute
the first side, it
connection?
was that rudeness side. So, he was a very witty man, and we actually connected through humor. He was
Yeah.
very dumpy, and I'd say, "How long, shanks," whatever it is. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm 5'2", and he's 6'3", so we look ridiculous together. I mean, when we danced, it was dance to tummy.
Oh, bless you. Oh, but as you said, it was so easy. And I think humor is so important.
Ah,
But what on earth made you switch from a career in media into prison reform?
you see, the problem was, and I've done so much in the media. I mean, let me just before we get there, let me tell you my introduction to British journalism. I was introduced and sent to be interviewed by the editor of the Sunday Express,
Mhm.
and I took my cuttings book, of course, but I later found out that he was a legs man. He really loved women's legs. While
Okay.
he was while he was looking at my cuttings, he was looking at my legs. Now, I have very good legs, but
Okay.
only from the knees down. The knees up, not good, but the knees down, great. And those were the ones on show. So I was given the job. Then I was shown into the newsroom where this great Goliath of a man called
I'll
Arthur.
stop you there. I'm sure, I mean, things have changed nowadays, thank goodness, but I'm sure you weren't only given the job because of your ankles.
I don't know, because this man hated the news editor, hated me on sight. It was nothing to do with me, but he had a collection of young women with good legs coming
Okay, good grief. Okay, okay.
And I mean, he made my life so difficult. I mean, once I had to phone up a verger's wife to say, your husband is having an affair with the woman in the congregation. And she started crying. And I said, don't answer.
Oh my goodness me.
No good as a reporter. I was always a feature writer. Anyway,
Okay. Okay.
what you asked
Going into prison reform, leaving a media career.
Well, my husband died in 2012, and he was my love, my mentor, my soulmate. We had a really good relationship. Yeah, a very good relationship. Anyway, so when people die, when a loved one dies, you get lots of cups of tea and a lot of support. But then a few weeks or a couple of months later, people think, you're able to manage now.
Yeah.
But then when the depression starts, and I was feeling very miserable one night, I was looking at television, trying to find something that would distract me. And I came across the Ryder Cup, this golf tournament between America and Europe. I don't play. I'm not interested in golf. I think it's very boring. I'm a tennis player. 15, 30, 40 love, 40 games, but with the golf, you have to do the
Totally agree.
very boring. I realize millions don't agree with me. Anyway, the winning captain of the European team dedicated the win to his friend Seve Ballesteros, the Spanish golfer who had recently died. And he said these words: "All men die, but some men live on." And I sat up and I thought, that's what I've got to do.
I've got goosebumps.
Robin's work in Parliament was stellar. I mean, he did so much. If I went through the list, it would take all of this.
But explain to us what his title was, what he actually did in Parliament, please, Val.
Well, he went in as an MP, and for 20 years he was a very good constituency MP. When he went into his seat in Birmingham, which is where he originally came from, or nearby, he got in with 231 votes, a majority. And when he left in 2001, it was 12,000. So that is actually, in a nutshell.
To the man, isn't it? Yeah.
So I thought I need him. I need to talk to him to honor his legacy. But what legacy? Because he helped the Iranian resistance. He helped the Dirty Blood campaign. He was Friends of Cyprus with the divided island. And but he was also chair until he died of the all-party penal affairs group, and he was passionate about prison reform and prison education. He used to say, prison isn't full of bad people. Prison is full of people who have done bad things, and most, not all, most need a chance to change. So I thought that is. Well, there were two ways. I could have gone that way, or I could have gone to his private members' bill, which was passed and still is existing today, which is to grant a lifetime anonymity for rape victims in the courts and the media. That was private members' bill. But I thought that's been done a lot. So let me go down the prison thing. So I went to the director of the Prison Reform Trust, with whom Robin had worked quite closely. And we did a thing called the Robin Corbett Award for Prisoner Reintegration in 2013. And we still, the 2024 winners are going to be announced on Thursday.
Oh, fab.
It's got 11 years since. And we do the presentation at the House of Lords, and we take the winners to tea in the Peers dining room. It's a lovely day for them. Anyway, so that we give money, sponsors money to 3 winners of charities or social enterprises and so on, who do the most to support people from prison.
Right.
And I'm meeting people in the prison reform sector who are all working in their own little ponds. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be a good idea to work in a sea? So that's when the Corbett Network for Prisoner Reintegration came into being in 2017. And now we've got loads of members who day to day focus on getting jobs, mentoring, coaching, education or training to people from prison. Okay. We have got to stop the way that people come out of prison. They go out of prison worse sometimes than they come in. So we've got to stop that. And
how many people are there in jail And what does each prisoner cost?
86,000.
At the cost to the taxpayer each of
£40,000 per prisoner per year. It costs us, if you do the maths, which I'm bad at,
mm,
I can tell you, and the reoffending costs, because they keep on going back,
mm,
because they don't get support outside.
mm.
Reoffending costs cost us taxpayers £12 billion a year. We have the highest reoffending rates in Western Europe, and we lock up more people as well. We
Yes,
go on the American system, which is lock them up and and throw away the key, rather than the Scandinavian Norwegian system, which works on rehabilitation prevention, which is what we should be doing. And
and as you said, 50% of those released will reoffend within 2 years.
yeah,
But with employment, that figure drops to 19%. So why you're battling, you're in this sea.
mm,
Why on earth we need far more people to work in this area to
yeah.
make a difference?
Mm.
Um,
I mean, they've just said that the unemployment rate has risen quite highly. It's the
mm,
highest since 2016 or something. And I've just done a post on LinkedIn saying, employers, let's recruit from a different talent pool. We've got all sorts of skills in prison. We've got all
yes,
construction workers,
yes,
with very good brains, IT skills, and so on.
yes, yes.
And there's a way to get them. I mean, I've got a member who says, judge them on their ability, not their past. Makes
Absolutely.
sense to me.
And with the right sort of support, because a lot, I read some of the stories, tragic stories on your website, and I do urge our audience to go and have a look at Val's website. She'll tell you at the end how to find it. And the stories there, of young men who, even from the age of 3 or 5, even they were angry. And of course and so that just went on, and they then go into, youth offenders, and then they go into prison, and they keep going back into, because they haven't got anything inside them, let alone externally, that's going to change their lives. And that's where you come in. So you have 3 networks, which will keep you incredibly busy. Would you like to tell us, you've told us about the Robin Corbett Award. What about the other 2?
Well, I've just talked about the Corbett network,
Network, yes.
which we're told. And I've got the Lady Val's Professional Women's Network, which has been going on for 14 years,
Yes.
with no time off for good behavior. This is a collection. I'm very keen on women. I think we are. I'm sorry about this. I think we are the better gender.
I think we are the stronger one and the more compassionate, and that's
And the more collegiate, and we
yes.
listen more.
Yeah.
When men who can work with women in the way that women want to work with, team player, collection, when that works, the company just soars.
Exactly. This is why I do what I do as well. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, gender equality is. I'm not a feminist, actually. I'm an equalist.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to be up there. I want us to sit at the table. Now, the G20. We used to have Angela Merkel, and then Theresa May briefly, but now they're all men. They're all men, and so 50% of the world's population is ignored virtually because they're all men and they're making these testosterone decisions. And I believe that if there were more women leaders, top leaders, I'm not sure there would have been so many wars.
Oh, I totally agree with you. That's another huge subject. But so we'll talk about equality and being a feminist, because men can be feminists. Another time, I'd love to have you back on again. You say you like reinventing yourself. Why and in what way?
I've got just. I've just.
Oh, yes, do have a sip.
No. I've just got right. I like reinventing myself because, as a matter of fact, I just don't like it. It just happens. I've been reinvented myself 9 times.
Why? Like a cat.
I think it's the way that life,
Yeah.
it's not. I don't sit back and say, "No, I'm going to reinvent myself." It just happens.
It evolves. I think, yes.
First of all, there's journalism, and my media career, and then I was a director of a television production company. where we did programs for BBC, Channel 4 and so on. The one I remember very, very closely is I was having terrible trouble with my own teenager. And so I sold a program to BBC called Living with the Enemy.
I have to say, she is now a very successful journalist, isn't
Yes,
she?
she is. Columnist, actually. She's not I mean, she's
A
a
columnist.
column of national newspaper. Anyway, so yes, so that was a 6-part series. They had to put it on at 10:30 because of the language of some of the teenagers. I mean, as a matter of fact, when I've met some of the teenagers, I thought mine wasn't so bad. And then I was writing for television, and actually I appeared on television as well. And I hated it, because being recognized, I don't know how anybody would like that. I was on an afternoon program about helping people to save money.
It makes me want to look you up, Val. Is it still out there on the Ethernet?
No, I'm sure not. And I lost my umbrella at Selfridges, so I was in the queue at Lost Property to talk to see if maybe somebody had handed it in. It was a lovely purple one. I've never found one that's as good. Anyway, and a woman next to me said, "Oh, it's not often you sit next to a television personality in Lost Property." Oh, who's this television personality? But it was horrible.
Being recognised didn't sit well with you.
Not at all. So I started writing for television. And I actually wrote with a friend of mine. We wrote a sitcom called Life Without George, which was very funny because
I remember that one.
Well, it was very funny because it came just as the AIDS thing came on. And my friend Claire Rayner was one of those who went on television with the banana.
Agony Aunt.
Agony Aunt, yes, a great friend of mine. And she had to tell people how to put the condom on. Yes, the banana. That was one of the low moments in her life.
Oh dear! Did she hear it without laughing?
Well, she did.
Very serious.
And then my next reinvention was as an MP's wife.
Yes.
And at first we lived in a...
During that time.
Sorry?
Could you work during that time?
This is the thing, you see, because my husband was doing such great things, and I was in Fleet Street with the champagne and having brainstormers and saying, why don't we do this? And interviewing Muhammad Ali and Elizabeth Taylor and all these people, and also getting funny stories. I must tell you one of them. My friend Judy was interviewing Jack Nicholson. And he was saying, oh, everyone's wonderful, the film's wonderful, the director's wonderful. And so Judy said, listen, Jack, you want publicity and I want to get into the paper. Give me something. And he said, did I ever tell you I am addicted to porn?
Oh, was he?
I don't know, but that's what he said.
Well, actually, there are men who are.
She said, excellent. And then I interviewed Elizabeth Taylor. When I stood up to go, because she'd said nothing, she said, oh, you and I have got the same problem. And I said, I wonder if she saw my little diamond. But anyway, she said, big of boob and short of limb. I said, yes. I said, unfortunately, with your face, nobody sees anything else. With Muhammad Ali, he said to me, he didn't want to do an interview, so I said I'd read his palm, which I did. I said, you're very loving. He said to me, I've had more trouble with women outside the ring than any man inside it. I thought, thank you, because that was...
Well, he was quite a character.
So the MP's wife thing was quite difficult because... First of all, I never saw my husband. It was the time when they had the all-night sessions, and I just had a baby, and his life did not change, not in the slightest. Mine changed very much. I had given up my job because I could not be away from my baby. And I had a mother 6,000 miles away, and my mother-in-law said, the first thing she said when we said we were having a baby, she said, "I don't do babysitting." So
Oh,
I
great.
exactly. So
Oh, were you up in Birmingham in the house still, and he had to
no,
be?
no, we always stayed in this cottage. He always stayed in this cottage.
So you were at a distance as well as him being working through the night.
Well, he's working through the night, and then the weekends, of course, he went to Birmingham for his surgeries.
Yeah.
Of course, most MPs did, one every 2 weeks. Of course, he did one on the third Friday, one on the Saturday. You
Mm,
know, anyway. Um, and then, of course, we had the carnivals and the fetes and the fish and chip suppers and all these sort of things. So
yes.
it was a very full life, and a very interesting life for him because of
Yes.
course, he was my political mentor as well.
Mhm.
Um, because when you're born in a country where the black can serve you, you do not question because you've been brought up with that.
Yes.
Of course, I knew that apartheid was bad, of course, but only when I got into this kind of teenage years. Because
Mm.
when you're a kid, you don't think about it.
It's just what
Um,
happens around you.
exactly, exactly. So um, he, uh, I mean, we had some fun times with the MPs. I mean, we came out one night at about midnight. We'd been out somewhere, and the phone rang, and an irate man said, "There's filth on BBC One. How dare they do that?" So Robin said, "Well, why don't you phone the BBC?" He said, "I can't get through to them.
Is that because so many people were
Can't get
calling?
the MP up to put the phone down." Um, but it was an interesting life. It was, and
Yes. Very diverse, I should imagine.
very diverse. And I was doing uh, um, freelance work, as well. So I suppose I could put that in as well, but I'm not going to do that.
So
And
from MP's wife to
the next thing,
freelance work,
sorry,
you said you'd reinvented yourself 9 times. So from MP's life to freelance work, what
oh
came
yes,
up? Did you still carry on with the journalism, freelancing
oh
then?
yes, yes. I did a column for Cosmopolitan, and I worked for all the newspapers. I did one very interesting series for the Sunday Mirror called "Spotting the Divorce Before the Marriage." And I interviewed loads of experts. Um, but I was going to say, because I actually had been married before. I got engaged after knowing him 4 hours. We hadn't even kissed. Uh,
Oh my goodness me.
I mean, don't even go there. It was so stupid. And so I knew that I'd had to find out why the hell I did that. It didn't last very long, of course.
You got married to that
Yes,
chap?
I did. I did.
Okay, we won't go there.
Don't even go there. It is a funny story, but it's too long for this.
Another time.
Another time. Anyway, so yes, I did these interviews, and of course, generalizations naturally, but the usual things. If there's a disparity in the age, he's too young, she's too old, whatever. Different political affiliations, different cultures. If the parents don't like the partner, it often doesn't work well.
Mhm.
But the things that I found very interesting was if you commit too soon, before 6 months,
Mhm.
it may not be a good idea.
Yeah.
And if you don't commit within 2 years, it's a
Mm.
good idea.
Yes.
And how many people do I know who are living together for 10, 12 years and they get married and they split up?
It's up. Yes, yes. It
So
just changes
then
the dynamic.
I said, well, why did I do such a stupid thing? Why on earth did I engage to a man I hadn't even kissed, and then married him very shortly? And he said, do not ever underestimate the power of someone saying, I want you.
Mm. Hmm.
And
Mm.
that was, you see, I was in this country about 18 months,
Yeah.
floating. I didn't know, I didn't know what I
You were
said,
so young and straight, but also I love you. It's easy to say I love you, but actions for sure speak much, much louder than words. And there's a lot that we can talk about this, Val. So I just want
and
to
I'm
say,
not finished my reinvention yet.
okay, okay.
My fifth reinvention is my friend Prue Leith introduced me to a restaurant called the Hoxton Apprentice. And
Uh-huh.
I went to dinner with her there, and I said, "Oh, well, yeah, this is very nice." They said, "Yes, they take unemployed people and they train them up." I said, "Oh, that's lovely. Is there anything I can do?" And her hand went out to my hand. She said, "Yes." So 7 years there, uh, and that's where the Hoxton Apprentice Professional Women's Network was made. Their
Okay.
belief was to bring people into the restaurant.
Hmm.
And I mean, the restaurant did such great work with these people.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've got time to go into it now, but I witnessed, and it stood me in great stead for the prison reform work because I witnessed that people can change.
It
I
can change
witnessed,
with the
I,
right people around them. So was this the precursor or the same thing to the restaurant where all the chefs are returning
yeah,
to
yeah,
things, ex-offenders?
yeah.
Right.
Um, so
Brilliant.
yeah, it was brilliant. Unfortunately, the 2010 Conservative government decided that these little pockets of recruitment wouldn't be good, and they wanted a whole somebody to take care of the whole thing. So they spent billions on this company, this organization, who some of the directors went to jail for fraud because they didn't train. They just ticked and said, yes, they've got jobs. And they put them in Poundland, stacking shelves. And of course, they never turned up the next day, but the
Yeah.
name did
Yeah.
come to it.
Oh,
So,
so
then,
sort of nationalizing it really was destroyed the
yeah,
good work that a few passionate people were doing.
exactly. So the restaurant had to close,
Oh,
but people begged me to go on with the Professional Women's Network. So I represented the Lady Val's Professional Network, and we met in Brown's in Covent Garden. And it is still very
mm.
successful. We can't use Browns anymore because they've had a major uplift, and their prices have skyrocketed. So
Ah, okay.
we,
May I just say here that I've been privileged to attend your networking both online and at Coat in London, and they're all on your way. You have some incredible speakers over time,
yeah,
and I've written a list here: Michael Palin, Isabel Garvey, who is the MD of Abbey Road Studios. I attended that one online.
it was good.
Dr. Yvonne Thompson James, who looks amazing. Uh, sorry, James Timpson, Cherie Blair, Prue Leith, of course, Jon Snow, and Jeffrey Archer. Please share your powers of persuasion with us, or perhaps it's your charm. I applaud you for bringing attention, your charities to these people, but how do they help you at these networks? You call in these big names. How do they help you with the networking events and your charities?
Well, all of them have an interest in prison. I mean,
Oh, okay.
especially,
Especially one of them.
um,
Jeff,
Michael Palin and John Show are very, very into prison reform. But the thing is, I I ask them. I've never paid. Um, and I always say their reward comes in heaven, but not for many, many years. Um, and what they do is they get rewarded in a way because they who was it that we had somebody who was I can't just remember the name. Oh, I know, and Alexander Inchwald. He
Oh,
is absolutely fabulous, and he talked to us and got so many people to sign up to what he was doing. So
yeah.
they all feel that they're doing good because the networks booking donation comes out of every booking for our prison reform, and I find fundraising the least. I can't bear it, and I'm very bad at that and filing. I'm very bad at both.
But you know, the way if people give, actually through my mental toughness training, we learned that the serotonin, the happiness levels of the giver are higher than the receiver. So if those people know that they're giving good and giving back,
That's right.
feeling good is such a lovely thing
It
to do
is.
and in a way to do it.
Yeah.
So charm and telling them they'll go to heaven.
Yeah.
So we got to number 6 in your
Just only because the people who come to the lunches are the top businesswomen,
Mhm.
and I think that and I feel that my network cares and shares because
Yes.
our motto is there's a special place in heaven for any woman that doesn't help another woman. One of my networkers said, I've changed it. I've said there's a special place in heaven for any woman who helps another woman. And I thought about it a bit, and I
The
thought,
first one was hell, wasn't there? Oh, okay, go on.
hell was the better one, not heaven. Hell. We need to make them scared. Um, um, and the empowerment, the networking they do together is absolutely incredible, because friendships are formed, which I think is the best thing. But other things, I mean, people have joined and business improves, and they've got other things. So it works very well on many different levels. So the next reinvention is a novelist. I wrote 6 novels, with 2 friends of mine, Eve Pollard and Joyce Hopkirk. And it came about because I think it was Eve said, I never, we don't have enough time together. I'm doing things, she said, we ought to have a project where we could actually meet regularly. So we got together and we started to plan a novel called Splash, which is, I'm just reading it now. It's about 3 women with 5-star careers and 1-star lovers.
And with all of your sense of humor, I must get that. Is it still available?
Oh, yeah, I think so. We've done 6. The one that I like best is number 5, Relative Strangers, which is, I just reread it. I've not read them since then, actually, but I was at a loose end, and I read Relative Strangers, and I couldn't put it down. And I thought, my
Well,
God,
we'd
that's
love
good.
to see, because I can put a link out to our audience, because honestly, I want to read these.
Well, Relative Strangers is the one I would suggest.
Okay.
Anyway, they were very successful. Eve bowed out after the 3rd one, I think. So Joyce and I went on to do 5 and 6, 4, 5, and 6. But the problem is that they put an awful lot of promotion, the publishers, into the first few books. But then we didn't get promoted or marketed. And frankly, you could have gold pages, but if it's not promoted or marketed, you might as well.
Unless you are a massive name,
Well,
like,
exactly.
yeah.
So we still get royalties. People read them. And so I think. Oh
And
yeah,
that's
my last reinvention was a reform campaigner. I find that this is actually the most satisfying
prison
uh,
reform. I can imagine. Yeah.
yes, because I feel that the members, I mean, the people that I'm supporting and helping, which we actually encourage collaborating. There's a lot of duplication in the sector, and by working together, they're far more effective.
Oh, absolutely. Collaboration. And it's what I think part of what you're doing is educating people. The stats are scary and they're not good, and they really need to be a lot better. How can you or we really help grow? Because, how do we help you do what you're doing and replicate and, cross-pollinate or collaborate? How can people help?
Public perception is one of the most common barriers to reintegration, because people think that everybody in prison is absolutely no hoper. And my feeling is that if you've done the time for the crime, slate should be wiped clean, but it's not, because the stigma lasts. And the public perception is that you've been to prison once, that's it. And it's not it, because people can change. And they have, I mean, let me tell you about Frankie.
Okay.
Frankie was in Peterborough Prison, and one of our members, Code 4000, did an in-prison coding course, and he went through that course. When he was released, 1 December, he was released with the £46, which every prisoner gets, now 76, still not enough. No job, no home, no prospects. He went to live with his grandmother. Incredibly enough, Lloyd's Bank in Leeds was looking for a Code 4000 put them up. And so Frankie was given a job, the first person from prison they'd ever hired. and he had to then relocate from Peterborough to Leeds. Well, the Corbett network with many others helped in all the funding for the move, the flat,
Mm.
Within 6 months of working there, Lloyd's phone code 4000 said, "Have you got any more like him?"
Oh, brilliant.
And that's the thing, that people don't realize, because we never forget, by the way, the victims, because our members, the people they're working with, have done harm. We know that. So
Yes.
we remember the victims, and we're not glossing over the things they did. But they need to change. If we don't have change, if we get them stuck in the same criminality.
The American system and the whole country would be full of prisons. But actually, some people shouldn't be there in the first place.
Oh, absolutely.
There are women who haven't paid their council tax or who are trying to. There was a great series, actually. I have to think of it. There were two. It was Sean Bean and Jodie Whittaker who
Yes,
played
yes,
these
yeah,
parts.
yeah.
But
Time,
it should be in called
time.
Time. Absolutely. Thank you. The series, two-part series called Time. Very, very enlightening, because they shouldn't be there. So again, oh, Vala, there's an awful lot of work to do, isn't
Yes,
there?
it is. It is.
I'd like to just, before we finish, ask you about resilience, which is one of my favorite topics, and which is a sort of a specialism. I'm award-winning resilience warrior, and I'm very passionate about helping people who are, not resilient, who have low self-worth, and who, like, I suppose most of the ex-offenders or returning citizens will have. Resilience, is this something that you have always had within you, or did you build it through your challenges?
I built it because I believe that adversity creates strength. And I had to have a lot of strength because I had a very unhappy childhood. My father was an abuser, and we had police coming to our doors, regularly. And this is why I developed the comedy thing, because I used to go to to school, and make people laugh because of what was happening at home was
Oh,
so.
wow. Okay.
Um, and I think that the resilience comes from those days, because I describe myself as a domestic violence survivor.
Yeah.
So to get resilience is very, very difficult,
Mm.
because I'll just tell you one story. A custodial manager of a prison once said to me, "If I induct 10 men in prison, most of them been in care, most of them have had no educational qualifications, they've never had jobs, they suffer from depression, and probably all of them have considered suicide.
Mm.
They were predicated to go to prison,
Mm.
basically."
Yeah.
So, how do you take somebody like that and give them resilience? It's
Mm.
really difficult.
Way down the line, they need care and support and understanding that yes, they've done wrong, but there's the path, isn't there, to that? And I'm fortunate to be working with an incredible man, with whom I've want to introduce you to.
Yeah.
He's out on the news at the moment with his book Extraordinary, and I, he is also playing his part, but having been a prisoner. So I was going to ask you the next thing about resilience. How important is resilience? Do you think resilience is in a person's professional and personal toolkit, especially offenders? And do you think they sadly, in the pathway to prison, lacked this important life skill?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, people in prison are in three things. The people I've just described. We've got the evil people who should never come out. That's
Mm.
the one thing. But most of them have just need another chance. And to be resilient means that you need a pathway. You need to know where you're going. And 70,000 people, for instance, are released from UK prisons, but only 17% get support. So 17% may get support, but what about the other? As I said, I was bad at maths, so you work out how many others, don't get that support, and no wonder that
You
they get
wonder.
forced to prison.
It's tragic. There needs to be a rethinking. Oh, Val, I am so, so grateful to you for not doing what you do, And I know that, you could retire, but I know you won't. And please don't. It's so valuable, and keep
Just
going.
let me stop you. I'm only a one tiny cog.
I
There are
know.
thousands of people like me.
Oh,
So, just say, there are people, there are committed people. I've just done this Robin Corbett Award judging with all my fellow judges. And
yes.
some of the things that are being done inside prison, outside prison, I keep on thinking, why is the system broken when we've got all these wonderful things happening?
Yeah.
I want everybody to look at LinkedIn on Thursday after 3 p.m. because all the three winners of the 2024
Okay.
Robin Corbett Award
Yeah.
being announced.
I'll start spreading the word, and I would encourage and urge our audience, people listening and watching this podcast, to spread the word and think about, what can I do? Because what's that saying, Val? There's a special place in hell for let's say, people who don't help other people.
I agree.
So I am sure our audience is as excited as I am to learn. Do you have either three top tips or one main takeaway for our audience from this conversation?
I live my life through a four-letter word, and
Mm-hmm.
it's called easy. And I want to encourage people to use that word because if it's easy to do something, then do it. And if it's not easy, try and get an easier way. That is honestly my top tip because so often I'm struggling with something and I think, why? I mean, the Corbett motto is nothing without effort. Trust me, everything I do has got effort. And so I've learned that when it's too much effort, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Something I need to change something to make it easier.
Yes, to be in flow, actually.
Exactly.
And
And it's my top tip.
I
Just
love that. Easy. Go easy on yourself.
go easy on yourself, on your family, on everything.
Yes, exactly. There's something else that actually one of my business mentors, Carrie Lindeen, taught me, which is a great saying, because some people can't say no. They have trouble saying,
Yeah.
or is just to simply say, no, that doesn't work for me. Or to ask the question, does that work for you? And I'm seeing it now in meeting arrangements and this sort of thing. It's very polite. If you say, no, that doesn't work for me, that can get you out of all sorts of
Absolutely.
challenges and trouble.
And
Um,
another help thing I do, which we do at my network, my women's network, which is how can I help you and how can you help me?
yes,
That,
yeah,
that sort of connection as well
it's that
makes
two-way energy. Yeah, yeah, it's brilliant. So finally, and I know we could talk forever, what is your chosen piece of music, please?
I absolutely adore the Rachmaninoff concertos. I
Okay.
listen to them all the time. Um,
And
I just find
why?
the music absolutely inspirational. It just empowers my soul.
Okay. Did you used to
All
listen
of
to
them, all
those
of
with
them.
Robin?
Sorry?
Did you listen to those with Robin?
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Val, thank you so much. What you do is amazing and so important. Please keep going.
Thank
And
you.
I will say now, how can I help you? How do we find you, by the way?
Well, my my email address, no, my internet address is www.thecorbettnetwork.com.
Okay, thecorbettnetwork.com.
Yeah,
And you're also on LinkedIn. And
LinkedIn.
so thank you.
I
Thank
would
you so much.
listen. I'm talking about yourself for an hour. What can we do?
I'm loving doing this podcast. I'd quite like to do it full time, actually. So fingers crossed. Love a sponsor. So that's something I'll be looking at because I'm launching this in July, people. So there'll have been some episodes by the time we get to Lady Val. So if you found this episode enjoyable and inspiring, feel free to share it with your family and friends. And if you'd like to be a guest on our Spirited Life, do please keep in touch. And I'm just going to say a little word about easy because I normally record this on Riverside. And Val and I had a few problems. And so we decided to make it easy. And we've done this on Zoom. And Val is very kindly recording this for me. So Val, my love, would you kindly stop recording? And thank you everyone for listening.